Hey everybody, it's Lan, also known as Jake, and today we're going to be having a casting call for the first episode of ReZero. Alright, hello, hi. You already heard the intro, so you know exactly what we're doing, so let's not waste any time and just get right to it. ReZero is a fantasy anime that came out in 2016, focusing on the life of a NEET, that's an acronym for Not in Education, Employment, or Training, who gets transported to an alternate reality in a fantasy world. ReZero is a bit of a play on the recent genre of trapped in a different fantasy environment animes. Good example of that is Sword Art Online, which I love, by the way. Well, only the first season. ReZero takes a darker turn and explores the horror of being forced to die over and over again, respawning every time, losing any relationships you had built or actions you had completed. That said, ReZero has its fair share of happiness and comedy. Now let's get to the character list. First, I will be casting the main protagonist, Natsuki Subaru. Love. It's what makes a Subaru. I swear I'm going to get that line in there somewhere. Now I will say from the start I am planning on voicing Subaru, but that does not mean that someone else can play him. I'm going to be putting him on the casting call because if I see someone that much better suits him than I do, because that very well may be possible, then of course I will cast them. So I'm just throwing that out there because I really want to see what you guys can do, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone showed me up because I'm not that good. Subaru's Japanese voice sounds like this.
とにかくここは俺に任せてくれ。なんとか交渉してみる。
Next, we have Emilia, the gray-haired half-elf, the female lead and protagonist of this story. She has a fairly average teenage voice and is around anywhere from 16 to 18. Emilia's Japanese voice sounds like this.
理性霊っていうのはまだ精霊になる前の存在のこと。
Next, we have Puck, the magical spirit creature who's always going around with Emilia. He resembles a cat in many ways and has many magical powers. Now in the anime, interestingly enough, I didn't even realize Puck was a guy until about halfway through, which kind of weirded me out once I realized it. So casting this character's voice is going to be actually pretty interesting for me to see what we come up with. In the anime, his voice is fairly high-pitched and cutesy. Honestly, when I think of casting Puck, I'm thinking more of an average teenage voice, but something that's unique. Now, I don't mean putting on a certain kind of voice, but I'm looking for really anything and everything. Give me any idea of a voice you think that could fit for Puck. It doesn't even necessarily have to be cutesy. In fact, I may not even cast something that's cutesy. It's really experimental for him. We're just gonna go for something and see what we can get. Puck's Japanese voice sounds like this, although we already talked about his voice.
そういえばお互いまだ名前も聞いてないよね。自己紹介しておく？そして僕はパック。よろしく。
Next up, we have Felt. She's about, I'd say 14 to 16, that may be too high, but she is one of the supporting cast members and is known as a thief. She has a fairly high-pitched voice as she is younger, and she is very full of energy and spunky. The person who plays her, you gotta have a lot of energy. Felt's Japanese voice sounds like this.
召喚？なんか知んないけど私忙しいんだ。ごめんな。強く生きてくれ。
Next up, we have Old Man ROM. As hints the name, he is upper in years, probably anywhere from 50s to 70s, but his voice can be anywhere in the adult range as long as it's deep enough. If there's anything I've noticed about casting things, it's always that I tend to not be able to find older male voices, so I'll be interested to see what I get for Old Man ROM. You don't have to sound extremely old, but if it's deep enough and it sounds like it's coming from an adult, it'll probably work, but sounding older is a preference. Keep in mind that he is a large hulking man. ROM, or Old Man ROM's Japanese voice sounds like this.
お前さんら二人で結託してわしを怒らせに来たんじゃなかろうな。貴様、わしを殺す気か。怪しげな真似しよってじじいを舐めるでないぞ。
Next, we have Elsa Grindheart. No, not magical Elsa from Disney. A very evil, murderous Elsa that's the main villain for the first 3 or 4 episodes. Her voice doesn't really have any distinguishing features to it. It's just an average adult woman voice, anywhere from 20s to 35, I would say. Almost all of her lines tend to be monotone and calm. The only other emotion she ever really shows is absolute rage and craziness, so there won't be too much in between ground, but you want to make sure you can act on both of those ends. Portraying both those emotions are going to be vital for this character. Elsa Grindheart's Japanese voice sounds like this.
いい性格だわ。嫌いじゃない。それでそちらのお兄さんはいくらつけたの？
Next up, we have Cattleman Rishk Rishge I don't know. This is a minor character we see a few times in the episodes. You also see him later in the series and he becomes a bit more of a supporting character, but he's not all too important. He's simply just a vendor in the market that seems tough, but is really a softie once you get to know him. He has an adult male voice anywhere from 25 to 40, and it should be relatively low-pitched and slightly gruff. Cattleman's Japanese voice sounds like this.
大丈夫か兄ちゃん、お金はいらねえ。とりあえずほれ、すまなかったな。娘の恩人だ。礼がしたい。何でも聞いてくれ。
Next up, we have Cattleman's wife. Now, this is a very small role and she maybe has all of 5 or 6 lines, but it's your standard female voice. It could be anywhere from 18 to 25. It doesn't really matter. She's going to be technically the first of the extras, but they're the next section, so I'll take mostly anything for her. Her Japanese voice sounds like this.
主人のお店なのでちょっと立ち寄ったんですよ。この子が迷子になったのを見つけてくれたんですよ。
Next up, we have a few of the extras. First, we have the male villager extra. For this, it doesn't matter to me at all. Just give me whatever you want, preferably anywhere from 15 years old to 25. I mean, obviously the character does look a bit older, but he only has about 2 or 3 lines. I really want to find anybody and everybody for extras. Extra roles, I don't look to be perfect. I know a lot of people, when they're just starting out, are looking for anything, and that's why I tend to cast extra roles to people who may not be the best and are just learning, because that's how I learned, was doing extra roles, so I want to help other people out too. The male villager's Japanese voice sounds like this.
この先にあるのはロムジーの盗品蔵だけだ。はは。さては兄ちゃんたちフェルトに何か盗まれたか。
That said, we also have a little girl extra, who is actually the daughter of the Cattleman Ranch, the vendor. Ranch, jeez. She's your very, very typical little child voice, high, squeaky, and adorable. I know you guys can do that, so thank you there. The little girl's Japanese voice sounds like this.
Oh, yes, yes.
In the extra section, I'm also going to include one of these guys. There's a few bandits or thieves or villains, hooligans, who Subaru meets in an alleyway. Their names are Ton, Chin, and Khan. In an effort to keep the cast number down, the more people you work with, the harder it is to coordinate, and honestly, the more people you have in a casting call, the less likely it is for the project to get cast well or at all. So I go for the least amount of people as possible. So I'm going to attempt playing Chin and Khan as well. I really want to test my limits as well to see how many voices I can do. If I determine that I can't, which I will know very soon, I'll go ahead and put those on there, put both of those guys on the cast list as well. So I will give an update if we do that. As of now, we're just going to be casting Ton as one of the extras. Now, he is anywhere from 17 to 28, 30-ish. He's kind of vague. It doesn't really matter, just any voice that sounds like his Japanese version or anything you want that you think looks like it would fit the character. Like I said, I'm really open on extra characters. Ton's Japanese voice sounds like this.
むしろ水刺されて気分を害した。
ですよね。
Alright, that is everything. Now, just a few little things I want to note before I end this. I'm trying to keep it short. I know, I have trouble with that. Sadly, I have to set a few standards. One is you have to have good mic quality. Now, you don't have to have a mic that is good as mine, although mine isn't all that great, but it is expensive and it's an XLR mic, and I know a lot of people don't have those. So I would say if you have a Blue Yeti or higher, then you're probably okay. The main thing I'm looking for when recording all of this is I don't want background noise. There can't be clipping. And again, I just have to stress it a second time. There really can't be any background noises or ambient hums, anything going on, or it's just not going to work. File format isn't really an issue. MP3 is fine, WAV is fine. Heck, even if you wanted to use FLAC, that's fine. Just as long as you can get me the files consistently, then everything will be totally awesome. The deadline is May 5th, 2017. That's a Friday. I believe it's 2 weeks from now. If for some reason I need to extend the deadline, if there's just not enough auditions or I'm just not quite the right voices I'm looking for, I will extend the deadline. But note, that almost never happens. Don't consider the deadline tentative, because if you think it of that way, you may not get the lines in time. Because I will not accept lines that are past the due date. It's just not fair to everyone else. If there's a special occasion or some circumstance that I think will exempt you from that rule, I'll let you know and we'll work it out. But those are all my rules. I don't like giving rules. I'm not that kind of person. But anyway, thank you all for watching this. I cannot wait to do this. I just watched the entire show. In fact, I binged the show in like 2 days. I know it was bad, but the show was good. I liked it. And I can't wait to give it an English dub. I still can't believe it doesn't have one. So let's do this together. I can't wait to see the results. My name is Lan and or Jake. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.